Now, I admit freely that I am not an expert about the life and times of Oscar Micheaux, but what I am is an independent creative focused on film production. I love cinema. I've devoted my life to it, and I have a great respect for the independents and the auteurs, those who successfully overcame all challengers. To me, it is the core of artistic freedom, and it is a core tenet of being an American. Freedom, independence, and the right to pursue whatever ambition you desire. If you did it well enough to make a career out of doing what you loved, well, then that's a life well lived. Which is why I find Oscar Micheaux such a fascinating example of the best and worst of living the American dream. I don't think I ever came across him or his work in college, and that was when Spike Lee, Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith, the Coen brothers, Steven Soderbergh, Robert Townsend, along with a slew of other indie filmmakers were all the rage. But when I came across Oscar Micheaux and discovered the many accomplishments of this self-made movie mogul, it astounds me to this day how few people, particularly filmmakers, are aware of him. Simply put, Oscar Micheaux is unquestionably one of the finest examples of American independence, innovation, entrepreneurship, freedom, and success. He also, sadly, represents how fickle and short-sighted the entertainment industry can be, allowing a legendary talent of such magnitude to be brushed aside and forgotten in favor of the new crop of ingenues that can be groomed into the next big whatever is clever cash generator, feeding this voracious, blind, deaf, and dumb treadmill, empowering this bizarre dream machine called showbiz. As an artist, an innovator, and a survivor, Oscar Micheaux remains not only a legend in cinema, but he lives in my heart as one of my personal heroes. Just over 100 years ago, Oscar Micheaux began building his creative empire. When he began making his movies, the First World War had only just come to a close. The United States was rebuilding. Manufacturer, investment, money was flowing. There was opportunity there. The United States did not want to return to slavery, so those who were creative, innovative, had ideas, and more importantly, could demonstrate that they could turn $1 into $5, received the attention and support they needed to become their own businessmen. Oscar Micheaux was one of these men. Now let's be clear, World War I is still a very near memory. He goes into production. He starts making his movies. He starts to make a name for himself. Even the Great Depression did not stop him from making his movies. Throughout the 20s and 30s, he kept going. He had the first successful talkie from a black filmmaker in 1931, and soon became the only black filmmaker to survive the transition from silent movies to talkies. One thing that I find very impressive about his 29-year career is he was able to keep that creative control from the scripts to principal photography, through the editing, and final distribution. Oscar Micheaux controlled every aspect of film production. He was involved in the entire process right down to creating and designing the posters that would promote the movies he was making. A start-to-finish cinematic auteur, America's first. 44 films, 29 years, produced, written, directed, primarily, exclusively by Oscar Micheaux. No other independent filmmaker can boast such a pedigree. And while most of his work has been lost to the ravages of time, what we can see is still potent, readily accessible, and with each movie, we are given insight into a moment of history that reveals how common human existence actually is, and helps bring all of us together in recognition of our shared history and humanity. He died on March 25, 1951, and his gravestone reads, "A man ahead of his time." In addition to being the first successful independent filmmaker in United States history, Oscar Micheaux continued to break ground and earn more firsts even after his death. In 1986, the Directors Guild of America presented Oscar Micheaux with a posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award. He was the first black filmmaker to ever receive the award. The following year, 1987, he received a posthumous star on the Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame, immortalizing him as a legend in cinema. If you've never seen any of his movies, I urge you to take the time. There are links in the description below. This is a man who had a lifetime and a career that most people only imagine. Few would ever dare to even dream was possible. This man accomplished it. He did it nearly 100 years ago, and he had a life that to this day, many people, including myself, would consider pretty damn good.